Test.
Is it one of those things where if you
If I can call the meeting to order. Given the current shelter-in-place order covering the state of California and social distancing guidelines issued by federal, state, and local authorities, the city is implementing changes to participate in planning commission meetings until notified otherwise. The council chamber will be open to the public, but we will be implementing social distancing policies and will limit the number of people who may be in the council chambers. All attendees are required to wear masks to enter the council chambers. The meetings will be webcast and can be accessed at the website provided on the screen. Members of the public are encouraged to participate in meetings by accessing the webcast at the site provided on the screen, providing written comments at the same website, participating by phone, or coming to the Planning Commission meeting in person. We are practicing social distancing and can only accommodate a maximum of 16 guests at one time. Okay, again, if we can call the meeting to order and the flag salute. Cunningham?
Join me in saluting the flag of our republic. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Antuna?
Here.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Here.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Here.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Here.
Chair Hinkle?
Here. Okay, if I could have approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve the February 25th minutes, Planning Commission minutes by Commissioner Cunningham and seconded by Chair Hinkle. Commissioner Antuna?
It was Hatcher.
Seconded by me.
Who's second
Oh,
for the minutes?
thank you. I find that. So motion by Commissioner Cunningham and seconded by Commissioner Hatcher. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, we'll move to item number 2, and that's consider approval, track map 6348, a request to approve a tentative track map for a 10-lot single-family residential development on property located on the northeast corner of North Temmy and West Nees Avenue. Gary McDonald Homes applicant, Buchanan Estates 4 LLC, and O'Brien Development LLC owner, Harbor and Associates representative.
Chair Hinkle, I apologize. We have one more step before this, before we get into the public hearing. We have the Commission Secretary comments.
Any commissioner? Okay, we'll move to the item number 2. Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief comment from me this evening. We're pleased to introduce our second new staff person in as many meetings. This evening, we're here to introduce Emily Lane, our new assistant planner. Emily's waving from the back row. Emily comes to us most recently from the County of Madera, where she's been a planner for about 3.5 years or so. She originally grew up in the Bay Area and then made her way down to UC San Diego, where she graduated with a political science degree. So we're very pleased to have her. She's got great experience coming in and also a background with public engagement. So we expect her to be a great addition to our staff. And I think we have her scheduled to make a presentation in front of you as early as your next meeting. So congratulate Emily on her arrival.
Okay. Then I'll get back on line here. Any Planning Commission members' comments? Okay, then we'll move to item 2 on it, which I,
We have one more. We have the business from the floor.
okay. Any business from the floor or online?
None online.
Okay, now we'll move to item 2. Staff?
Good evening, Commissioners, Chair Hinkle. Tonight for your consideration is Track Map 6348, which is a proposal for a 10-lot subdivision. Before I begin my presentation, I do want to note on the record that staff received correspondence from the public after the agenda and the staff report was published. There was one email in opposition and 2 emails and 1 phone call in support of the project. That memo was sent to you all last night, and a hard copy was placed at the dais for your review. The proposed project is located on the northeast corner of Timmy and Nees Avenues on approximately 3.55 acres of vacant land. More generally, the project is located on the north side of Nees, in between Peach and Willow, on a vacant infill lot. It is completely surrounded by the R1 zone district, which is shown in yellow, and the surrounding area is extensively developed with similar uses with the same density and development standards as what's being proposed. The subject property is zoned R1 7500 with a general plan land use designation of low density residential. The proposal of a 10-lot subdivision on the 3.55 acres would result in a density of 2.81 dwelling units per acre. The general plan allows for up to 14 lots to be on this site, so the proposed use is well within the permitted density range and even at the lower end of it. Because this project isn't requesting a rezone, there's no general plan amendment, there's no deviations from the municipal code being requested, it will be required to comply with the development code for all of the R1 7500 development standards. So shown in red on the screen right now, is where a 6-foot masonry wall will be. The green is the remainder of the perimeter will be a 6-foot wooden fence. The project does have a 36-foot wide street from curb to curb, which meets city standards and allows for parking and sidewalk on both sides of the street. The proposal is for new construction semi-custom homes with an average lot size of just under 13,000 square feet. The surrounding areas have lot sizes from 9,000 to 14,000 square feet, so the proposed project does fit in nicely with what is already in the area. The project is required to comply with all current and applicable California building code, including green building code requirements to be electric vehicle capable and have solar. There is a 5-foot minimum side yard setback on each of these lots, which will be paved and will provide adequate space and path of travel for the trash toters. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve vesting tentative track map number 6348, subject to approval of the conditions of, or subject to the conditions of approval, and also make the finding of consistency that the dedication toward public right-of-way is proportionate to the development being proposed. That concludes my presentation, and staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff?
I do have one quick question. On the condition of approval, item number 3, can you explain that for the record? Is it just a housekeeping item?
Give me 1 second while I pull up number 3. That is correct. It's a housekeeping item because, there is previous entitlements on the land.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Now, is there a sidewalk on the the west side of Cindy next to those? Because the drawings, it's hard to tell. It looks like it's just a grass area or something.
It is correct. Engineering is requiring sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Okay. The next question is about the trees on the property. On the north end, there are trees, and there are palm trees on the east side. Now, if they would have to replant those trees somewhere in the property if they were to move them, or remove them?
That is correct. They would have to get a tree removal permit to remove any trees on the site, and that includes an arborist report and a replanting plan. And it is their intention to save what they can, but for what they do have to remove, they will need a permit for.
And the palm trees will fall under that same?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any way to remove the palm trees from it? I would hate to see them have to put the palm trees somewhere. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we'll now open it up to the floor. And the applicant, would you like to say something? No, let them turn it on there for you.
There we go. Am I on now?
Yes, you are.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Gary McDonald, and we're very pleased to be able to acquire this site. In the past, we've built several hundred houses in Clovis, and they've been not as high quality as we plan on building here. The homes are going to be larger, and the lots are large enough in some cases to have accessory dwelling units. So we'll probably be making applications for also accessory dwelling units to be on some of these lots. We are in agreement with the staff's report and ask that you would approve this for us. We're ready to move forward as quickly as possible to build these out. There's a real demand for lots that are larger. Most of our building is in the city of Fresno, and there's no more large lots. It's all over. You have to have 3.3 units per acre minimum in Fresno, and so with that, about the largest lots are going to be 10,000 to 11,000 square feet, except on some cul-de-sac situations. So we feel that we can build some very nice homes here. They'll be well received and a real addition to the area. So we ask you to approve it. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak in favor of this development? Those that like to speak in opposition? Any on the line?
None.
Okay. Bring it back to the commission. Any more discussion? Oh, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, in addition to the written public comments that were submitted to you, I did receive one additional call from Mr. Rod Lokovich, who is also a neighbor in the surrounding area, who lives, in his estimation, behind the proposed tract map. Mr. Lokovich wanted to make sure that his support for the project was on record with your commission this evening.
Okay. All right. Bring it back to the commission. Any more discussion?
I would just remark that I know there's quite a history with this property. I think this is a great and appropriate use. As Mr. McDonald mentioned, we see a lot of high-density housing developments come before us. I know that there are, in creating housing for everyone, people who demand and want larger lots, so I personally welcome that. I think it'll be a welcome addition that will fit nicely with this neighborhood, so I'm in support of the project.
One thing I've noticed from information that I receive is that across the United States, there's been more demand for larger lots now from the pandemic, that millennials have figured out that they actually need a larger lot now than what they thought they needed in the past. And, this fits right into it. And I'm glad to see this development moving forward, because I have noticed, or I've seen, there's a couple bills in committee right now that could be disastrous for the neighborhood. And, this is the best thing that can happen for that area. So, I'm in favor of what's going on. Yes, Ms. Cunningham.
I agree with the chair and with Commissioner Bedstead that, this is a godsend to this particular parcel. We've been going back and forth over several years now on, its use. The neighborhood was quite unified in opposition to the previous entitlements. And, now I think, the tables have turned. I recognize a couple of the names that are in support now that were adamantly opposed. And I want to thank Mr. McDonald and his company for coming in and saving the day as to this parcel. I think it's good for the community. I think it's good for the neighbors, and I think it'll be good for the new owners of the property. And when comments are done, I'm ready to make a motion.
No more discussion? Then we're open for a motion.
I'll move that we approve track map TM 6348, subject to the conditions of approval listed as attachment 1, and make a finding of consistency that the dedication toward public right-of-way is proportionate to the development being requested.
I will second that motion.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? Then we'll,
Do we need to separate them?
No.
Okay.
we'll,
Okay, motion by Commissioner Cunningham, second by Commissioner Bedstead to approve tentative track map 6348. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
yes. Okay, moving to item 3. Thank you. We appreciate what you're doing. Item number 3, consider items associated with plus or minus 23 acres of land located at the northeast corner of Nees and Minnewawa Avenue. Jeremy Vander Linden and Brad Bell, the Well Church applicant's representative, the Well Community Church, and a California nonprofit religious corporation owner. Item A is consider approval, a request to approve an environmental findings of a mitigated negative declaration for rezone 2020-005 and conditional use permit 2020-006. Item B, consider approval of R 2020-005, a request to rezone plus or minus 23 acres from the RA single-family residential very low density zone district to the Clovis R1 7500 single-family residential low density zone district. Item C is consider approval of conditional use permit 2020-006, a request to approve a conditional use permit for a church use. Staff?
Good evening, Chair Hinkle, members of the Commission. So the project is located on the northeast corner of Minnewawa and Nees Avenue, as you see here. The project itself would occupy an approximate 23-acre portion of a larger site. The larger site you can see is denoted in red. It's about 53 acres total, but the project itself for consideration tonight is about 23 acres of that. A lot of you may know it as the former Smith Camp residence and or orchards, so that's where it's going to be. Rezone 2020-005 is a rezone request to go from the RA, single-family very low density, to R1 7500. Really, this is just a cleanup action. The current land use designation here is low-density residential, and to bring the zoning into consistency as part of this project, that's the purpose of that. The reason why R1 7500 was selected is that's just what's surrounded in the other areas, so that's what's consistent. But obviously, this is for a church use, so That's just a cleanup action. CUP 2020-006 is for a church use. Church services would occur on Sundays at 9, 11, and 5, as well as weeknight services Monday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from about 6 to 8:30, depending on the day. Childcare services would be provided only during church events and services. So I have a site plan on the next couple of slides that will show where the daycare or childcare center is. That's not intended to be any kind of other childcare. It's only open during service events. Other events included in the CUP would be typical of churches, weddings, funeral services, Bible studies, and other events that you might see at a church-type facility. They will also include recreational fields for their use. So this is the site plan that's being proposed. As you can see, most of the structures are located kind of in between Minnewawa and Clovis, pretty equidistant towards the Nice Avenue side. As you can see here, indicated in blue, that's where the main sanctuary would be, where they hold the services. The classrooms that I was just talking about would be here, where you see in red, as well as a future office building for office and administrative related duties associated with the church. And then there would also be an area of play fields and outdoor sports courts also for use by the church. Other features of note would be that sidewalks would be included along the project frontage. That includes Minnewawa, Nice, and Clovis Avenue. If you've been out there recently, or you know the site, you know there's no sidewalks or anything right now. It's unimproved. So as part of this project, those would be installed. There would also be on-site parking. As you can see here, it's pretty much wrapped on both sides of the buildings. There'd be approximately 515 vehicle spaces as part of this project. And then it is worth noting, although it's not part of the CUP, there would be some existing agricultural operations remaining as part of the former use of the packing and frozen food storage tied to the previous owners. And then I also did want to mention where most people are familiar with the residence and the grass area and the trees there. That would remain as part of this project. There are no plans to modify that particular area of the project site. So these are some conceptual elevations that were provided. We're currently looking at the site plan review, but this will give you a concept of what they're going for. At its very highest peak, it would be just a little over 34 feet, which is actually below the maximum height permitted in the R1 7500, so that would be at its highest peak, as you can see there. These are some other elevations. So we did receive 2 comments. One was a letter, one was a phone call. Primary concerns were just a lot of questions on the noise and the traffic circulation of the area. Staff did meet with one of those neighbors in person to address their really more questions and concerns. So we met with him, and then I had also spoke to one of the neighbors along the north property line a couple of weeks ago. As it relates to noise and traffic, you know, most services would be held indoors. However, some, you know, would occur outdoors if there's weddings or, you know, kind of events typical of churches, and to enjoy the grounds there. Some of those events would be outdoors. Any uses would be required and be held to the noise standards included in the municipal code in terms of hours of when noise could occur as far as decibel levels. As it relates to circulation, the site does have adequate amount of traffic, and on the next slide I'll show you there's going to be a total of 5 points of ingress and egress, so it really is going to be designed to disperse traffic and get people onto the site as quickly and efficiently as possible for where they're located. And then it's also worth noting that Nice Avenue will be widened as part of a community investment program, a city project. The north side of Nice will have an additional lane added, so that will also help with the circulation in the area. So as it relates to noise, one thing I wanted to point out is really the distance. From where the project is going to be, it's approximately 425 feet, if not greater, probably from where those noise events would occur, if there's weddings outdoors or music or what have you. You're talking about at least 425 feet away, which is a pretty good distance. On the south side, it would be, approximately 200 feet away, depending. I took that measurement just, based on where the block wall was on the south side to the lawn area of where the residence is. So just to give you an idea in terms of noise, and obviously the further away you are, the less noise, or the noise will drop off as you get further away. As it relates to traffic, these red arrows indicate the points of ingress and egress and the turning movements that would be allowed. So again, there are 5 points, and this is really designed to help people get onto the site as quickly as possible during services, as well as allow people to leave the site. So there will be an entry and exit along Minnewawa and Clovis Avenues, as well as 3 points of ingress and egress along these. It's a little hard to see in this because of the site plan, but there will actually be dedicated right turn pockets along these. That way they can have kind of a decel lane to get into the driveway, and the intent there is that there'd be sufficient room so that there wouldn't be any queuing or too much backup along knees, if at all. So with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission consider approval of the mitigated negative declaration, consider approval of the rezone 2020-005, as well as CUP 2020-06. That concludes staff's presentation, and I know the applicant is here to answer any questions as well as a member of their traffic team.
Okay, any questions of staff?
I have one. Ricky, somewhere in the documentation I read that there was a complaint from one of the neighbors about left turns westerly out of the facility onto Minnewawa, and I didn't see that on your document. I see a right in, right out, or am I not seeing that correctly?
This one. Right here, yeah. So the gentleman that I had spoke to, who's a neighbor on the south side, it was, I don't know if concern is the right word. It was more of a question or somewhat of a concern about the safety of vehicles exiting here. I think because of the volume of it, and our engineers and we have the traffic engineer who did the study, feels that it still would be safe to be able to make that turn going south on Minnewawa. So there wasn't a condition or a need rather to close that off.
I'll have a question, I'm sure, for the pastor when they get up here. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll open it up to the floor. The applicant, if you'd like to come up and say something.
All right. To the commissioners and Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to share. Clovis is a way of life, and it has been a way of my life for most of it. In fact, I think I paid for my college education via one plate of Lunas at a time. So to be here and be talking about this project is truly historic for us. As a young man who grew up and went to all of my schooling here, I'm very aware of the uniqueness that is Clovis. And I plan to...
Could we get you to state your name and your address for the record?
Yes, forgive me. My name is Brad Bell. My address is 8887 North Mattis. That's Fresno, unfortunately, 93720.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, just understanding the historic nature of this property, we have operated as a church for almost 20 years, primarily, of course, in Fresno. We do have a campus just down the street at Maple and Knees. And as we were looking at growth options, very thankful for the Smith-Camp family that was willing to entertain a conversation about historic Wawona Ranch. And as we entered into some conversation with them, we recognized that this could be a premier opportunity to create something special on that property, to continue the legacy of generosity that has been the Smith-Camp name for so many years, but to do so in a little different fashion. And so as we have put our plans together and put the developments together, we're just delighted to see that really this could be a feature that for the city of Clovis, we think would make the city very proud. And we want to work very hard to make it something that would be appealing and fit to the narrative of being on Clovis Avenue. We understand the connection from Old Town to Heritage Grove. We understand the importance of Clovis Avenue. And we see this as being a huge value add for our city with a church that has a heart to be in the community for the community. We're just very excited to see this project move forward and would ask for your support in approving it as such.
Any questions for Brad?
A follow-up to Mr. Caperton's question. How many folks attend each one of your services, if you know, a rough figure?
Well, during COVID, it's been very difficult to, ascertain that. Our guess would be somewhere, if we were indoors, which we wish we could be, we would be somewhere around 750 people per gathering.
Okay. And no traffic studies have been done on your Maple and Knees site as to how many cars come out into traffic or whatever? My concern, obviously, is the left turn lane.
Totally, I understand.
And Minnewawa is a heavy traveled thoroughfare. And unfortunately, around Buchanan, even on Sundays, it tends to be rapidly traveled, if you get my meaning. And,
I totally understand. If you had a Bible question, I can answer that, but a traffic question, I might defer to the experts on that.
Do you have a traffic engineer here tonight? Or?
I believe we do, yes.
Yeah, that would be my concern, yes. Mr. Traffic Engineer, maybe I can address that with you. And my question is based on nothing quantifiable, but Minnewawa, I'm sure you are well aware that it is a heavily and rapidly traveled road, and I have a concern on a great number of vehicles being flushed out, and many of them will go south. And I note that for the project, this is the only place where they can make the southbound or left turn. The rest are right in, right out. Could you speak to me a little bit, reassure me that...
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, John Rowland with Peters Engineering Group, and we're at 862 Pulaski. I'm a registered civil engineer and a registered traffic engineer in California, and we did the traffic study for the project. So just some thoughts on kind of the behavior of people who would be exiting the church. You have the left turn that you're concerned about is coming out to Minnewawa and then turning left to go southbound back to Knees, right?
Correct.
So the first thing I would say is if someone experiences much difficulty making that turn, they're probably going to choose to go down one of the other exits and just turn right. So we have two opportunities to go south from the site down to Knees and just make a right to get to the same location that you'd be going to if you made that left. So I think if visitors are having difficulty making the left turn, they're probably just going to adjust their route and go make a right turn somewhere else. We did traffic counts and we did an analysis that shows that the level of service isn't, terrible making that left turn. And we did recommend that we stripe a different, exiting right there, a separate dedicated left and a dedicated right, so they're not queuing up and getting a little more frustrated as they wait. So we should have a dedicated right for people that want to go north on Minnewawa. And so all I can really, and you also have the benefit of if there is a lot of congestion, you can always just prevent the left turn, after major events with cones or you can always, and I think we're doing that at one of the driveways already. We're going to prevent lefts out on Sundays after large events to Knees on the eastern driveway there. So we want to provide a lot of opportunities to exit and to go different directions just so that we can minimize congestion and give people lots of opportunities at different driveways. So I'm not terribly uncomfortable with that left turn right there. I've done it after buying peaches before, and it'll be a little busier after a church service, obviously. But we actually think more people are going to want to go down to one of the other driveways and make a right straight onto Knees to get back to the same intersection. So those are my thoughts on it.
No, I appreciate that. And from my perspective, I'm not really that concerned about the churchgoers that are exiting. I'm concerned more about the people that travel in Minnewawa and think that they're going to have the right of way, exclusive of anyone coming out of there. So it just seems to me it would be a safer move to just keep it right in, right out, all the way around. and it doesn't seem like that would be a terrible inconvenience for the churchgoers to, now perhaps you can, mitigate that, like you said, with cones, but I would be deeply hurt if someone got injured in a traffic collision there because someone was trying to speed to beat the next light and have a churchgoer come out in their way.
In terms of safety, I can't say that the traffic study really digs deeply into safety. We look at delays and saying, but in terms of sight distance and things like that and speeds that people are traveling, that's a slightly different maybe design issue, and essentially it would be maintaining what's existing. So I don't want to imply that I'm saying it's, completely safe, because it depends on people's behaviors. But it relies upon sight distance and things like that and adequate design, so that can all be checked too.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I have a question. Trucks that are using the north portion there, are they going to be able to access that northern road from their lot? And also, will they be able to go through your current parking lots to go to Knees?
Yeah, so the current traffic flow on the property brings the trucks in from Knees, and we will be doing a reinforced entry off of Knees as well that will be available for those trucks. So the traffic flow will be for the trucks very similar while the trucks are operating.
And it'll be separate from your current parking?
It's the reinforced parking there in the middle of the site itself.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to get them in and out.
Okay. Any other questions? I've got a couple. What are your plans for the property to the east to Clovis Avenue?
Yeah, to the east of Clovis Avenue, at this point, we have no plans. We are stretching as far as we can budget-wise to even, by God's grace, get on the property in the mid-block. And so we have nothing planned and no funding for anything to the east.
I notice also in the northeast corner that there's a lot of dirt that has been piled up. Is that to be used in the development, or do you have plans for that corner?
Yeah, it is to be used in the development. We found that from soil samples, we're going to have to remove quite a bit of sand from where the peaches currently are and recompact that with some other soil. So some pool builders in town have been dumping their clean dirt there so that we can have some dirt on site to do that.
Are you going to be putting any charging stations in your parking lot for your parish?
That's a good question. My assumption would be yes, but I would defer to our architect who's here as well.
Okay. I noticed you've got in here to start your operations at 9 a.m. in the morning. With the facilities for recreational activities, you may want to think about changing that because you're going to have youth and stuff. Maybe you have 7 a.m. so that you can have, and we can do that tonight, to where you could have activities before 9 a.m. in the morning. I know kids like to do things early in the mornings.
Yeah,
so it's something you might want to think about. If that's something you want to do, let us know, and we can include that in what we're doing tonight. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have to come back to us later, let's say a year from now, and change it.
Yeah, thank you.
Why not?
If we can change it tonight, why not? That'd be great. Thank you.
You'd like to do that at
Sure.
7?
Although I'm not sure I'm getting my teenage girls out there at 7 for that rare chance, yeah.
But there's possibility of some activity.
Absolutely.
In what you have going on, the size of your facility and everything.
Absolutely. That
I would recommend it. That's something you consider.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, we'll take you up on that.
Okay, so 7 a.m. in the morning from starting of operations.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Chair Hinkle, if I may, and to clarify that, so the 9 o'clock time was when the service time started. It wasn't necessarily denoting like an hours of operation window per se, like a typical business, like a restaurant or something where there's certain hours of operation. So I mean, we can certainly clarify, but
Yeah, it just makes it clear, because I
Okay.
can see someone knocking on our door with this.
Mhm.
It's not down and clear for everybody to understand.
Sure.
So that's what I'm trying to do tonight, is just make it clear and let's get it over with. So we don't have some irate person coming back. So let's make things as easy as possible for all of us. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Bill Smitkamp, 1564 North Middleburg Lane in Gary McDonald's development. And I used to live on that property, so it gives me great pride to be up here. Thank you, Brad, for your comments. There's nothing better for this site than what's going on and what is hopefully to be approved tonight. The dirt that he was talking about, if you ever took an aerial view of our orchard, right there where those buildings are gonna be, is pure sand. And it did not grow very good peaches. So we're happy to put some buildings on it. With regards to the traffic lanes, you know, I think there's plenty for the expert back there. But because of Buchanan is on the west side, there's plenty of places for people to turn right and do a flippy U-turn on Minnewawa to be able to go south. And although we're not all brain surgeons, people figure it out pretty good. So with that, we certainly would ask, you know, we've got two great architects, landscape and building here, that have done a first-class job. And my family is in full support. My late brother and my two sisters and our families are all in full support of this. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about your brother. Anybody else to speak in favor of this project? Anybody online?
There is none.
Okay, anybody who'd like to speak in opposition? See none. Anybody online?
None.
Okay. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Any discussion, or you guys have anything you want to ask? Okay, well then, we'll move to item A, a request to approve an environmental finding of mitigated negative declaration for rezone R 2020-005 and conditional use permit 2020-006. Excuse me.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatcher, second by Commissioner Bedstead, to approve an environmental finding of a mitigated negative declaration for rezone 2020-005 and conditional use permit 2020-006. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, move to item B, consider approval of R 2020-005, a request to rezone plus minus 23 acres from the RA Single Family Residential Very Low Density Zone District to the Clovis R1 7500 Single Family Residential Low Density Zone District.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatcher, second by Commissioner Bedstead, to approve rezone 2020-002, rezoning approximately 23 acres from the RA to the R1 7500 Zone District. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes.
And I'll make a motion to approve CUP 2020-006 with the changing of the hours from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. Does that work? Operational hours?
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hatcher, second by Commissioner Bedstead, to approve conditional use permit 2020-006 with the modification to the hours of operation for outdoor activity from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Commissioner Antuna?
Yes.
Commissioner Bedstead?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
Chair Hinkle?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Move to old business. Is there any old business? See none? Okay. New business, move to cancel Thursday, April 15th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. Staff?
The city planner, I believe, wants to,
The senior planner.
the senior planner.
Good evening, Chair Hinkle, members of the commission. When this agenda was published, we had no items ready to go for April. However, since publication of this, we received 2 items that we would like to take to the April Planning Commission. So we were originally going to request to cancel it, but we'd actually like to request to cancel the cancellation and actually hold the April PC meeting, if so desired.
Any discussion? Staff? Yeah, do we need a motion on this? I wouldn't think so.
No, there shouldn't be any need to not cancel a scheduled meeting. But you're free to do so if you so choose.
But basically on the agenda, it's just a discussion about cancellation.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions for staff on this or whatever? If that's the case, if we're all done, then at 6:56 or 6:46. So I adjourn the meeting.
Good.